It's your girl Brittany, aka Barbie Sosa, and I'm the host of Finding Yourself Podcast. And today we are going to talk about grief. This is episode 6, and we are going to talk about grief. And this is my perspective, and this is my experience. Okay, so I'm not going to give you guys 3 points because I don't know how I'm gonna be, but I want to talk about when you initially lose someone, and I want to talk about how it does affect you mentally and emotionally. But I want to talk about how a lot of people, when they're grieving, they can shut down. And what I've learned is you have to be able to talk about it, and talk about it with people that is carrying the same burden, right? So I think it was 2021, like really took a lot from me. I lost my aunt, I lost my uncle, I lost my brother, I lost my grandmother, I lost my cousin, and navigating grief can be very, very tricky. Sometimes I'm emotional, sometimes I'm not. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it through this episode without crying, because although I do miss my loved ones, my heart breaks for my family, because I've been in the medical field for over 15 years, so I understand the circle of life, I understand death, and a lot of people don't understand. And I know who I serve, and I know that God is not gonna put more on me than I can bear. And I know that once somebody leaves this earth, their assignment is done. And I think so often we focus on how they went instead of why they went. And we would never have the answers. We would never understand why God decided to take someone at a particular time or in a particular way. But you have to trust and know that however the situation occurred, their assignment was done. And I know for a fact that a lot of people have fought a good fight, and a lot of people have lived a life, a fulfilled life. And everybody got a day, everybody got a number. And I just remember, like, when it comes to grief, like I remember, like, with my oldest brother, when I found out, like, that he passed, and I was on my way to take my daughter to school, and my sister kept calling me, and it's early in the morning, so I'm like, what? Like, she keep calling me, like, she don't normally call me this many times, and it's early, so I answer, and I'm like, hello, because I'm like, what's going on? Like, it's early, you're calling me. And she was like, he's gone. And I'm like, what? And she was like, Jason's gone. Like, he passed. And I'm like, okay, like what? Like, what's going on? And she was like, they called me and, told me he passed and stuff. And I was just like, okay, I'll call you back. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, how, like, I'm taking my daughter to school, right? So I'm trying not to be too historical. Like, I don't want to, like, just break down in front of her because I don't want to ruin her day at school. So I keep my composure and I drop her off to school. And I get her off to school, and I mean, y'all, the door didn't even close on the car good, and I was screaming, I was bawling, I was just overwhelmed with emotions, and my heart started to break, not just for me as a sibling, but for my mom. Like, for her to have to lose a child, like, I don't think anybody wants that, right? So it was just so much, and like, based on the circumstances and all the things that kind of transpired with, him passing, like, we didn't get to say a proper goodbye. We didn't get to see him for the last time. And I think that that is like the most hurtful part of it. And like I think that would have gave a lot of people peace. And because we didn't get that and we were robbed of a lot of things, I think that it's a work in progress. And I think that we are constantly working and constantly trying to navigate this thing called life and understand like the things that are happening. So my family, like we took some major hits, and I think like when we lost my grandmother, that was like the shift that it broke a lot of people, and I could see a lot of people hurting, and I could feel like the level of heaviness on everybody. I love my grandmother. I saw her and I braided her hair and I rubbed her back, and I knew that the time would be coming. And I got in my car after like the last time I saw her. I got in my car. That was October. She passed November, and I cried. And I cried because I knew that when it came and when it happened, so many people were going to be unprepared and so many people were going to be hurt by it. And because I'm in the medical field, I can see things, I know things too well. And I couldn't say anything because it's like, you know, you could never prepare somebody for something like that. And I think that my level of understanding, like when it comes to grief and just knowing that God is in control and God is gonna be able to comfort you and turn the situation around. And it does hurt, but nobody is promised forever. We're not promised. We don't know the day, the hour, the time. And like my family, like when we lost like my grandmother and my aunt and my brother and my cousin, like it shifted. A lot of people were so hurt they couldn't even stand to like do family things, you know, and my family was pretty much broken. And it took a little while to get back to coming around and like really being together like we used to be. My family is huge, and I think it's no better place to be than with the ones that is carrying the same burden as you. You know, those people meant just as much to me as they meant to them. And I think that that's how you start to heal. That's how you start the process. You know, remembering the jokes and like the times that you had with your loved ones, and it would never be the same. But we can create memories now for our children and not rob them of those opportunities. And I think that when it comes to grief, everybody handles it different. Like I have some people that started drinking super heavily. I have some people that don't come around. I have some people that will come around and they just a certain kind of way. Like everybody handles grief differently, and you have to allow a person to go through it. And as hard as it is to see them in this black hole, you have to let them go through. And eventually, when they're ready, they'll come out of it, you know? And I think that is a part of everybody saying, oh, get over it. It's been this amount of time, or you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing, like, you don't know how hard it is for that person. You don't know how hard it is for them to live without a person, and they're doing the best they can. And I know a lot of people will pick up alcohol, you know, or drugs, or they're angry, they're in a rage. Everything is irritates them, and you have to have some compassion, you know, when you're dealing with people, so that you're able to help them navigate these changes, because we don't know. Life is life, and we don't know. And I just think that like we took a lot of losses, but I think that like losing my cousin, like me and my cousin, we were super close. Like we were like thick as thieves, literally, since we were little. And that's what shook me. Like that was the situation that really shook me, because it's like we grew up together. Like she was younger than me. She had been going through a lot. She was dealing with grief and stuff, but she had so much more life ahead of her. But like you said, you know, like I said, God is gonna do what He feels is necessary. And like when I got that call, like in the middle of the night. And this is how, we all know when they just keep calling, something's not right. And when I answered the phone, it was my little cousin, which is her little sister, and she was like, she gone. I'm like, what? She's like, she's gone. And when I tell y'all that shook me, like it shook me. It shook me to my core. And I was hurt, and I was hurt for her mama. I was hurt for her siblings. I was hurt for like the people that cared for her, and it was sudden, and she had just had a birthday. And it's like no parent should have to bury their child, and like that's a pain. Like you can just empathize. You don't know, right? And like to see my Amy whole world go dark, and then like she have to try to be strong because she got 2 more kids, right? And then to see them hurt and see them like trying to navigate life and changes and go through life and grief in however way they feel they need to. And and just her constant worry about them, and her constant concern that them losing, their older sister, the level of like the impact they had on them. And I just think that like my daughter was close to my cousin, like everybody was close to them. Just seeing everybody hurt, and like it was just a different hurt, like with her. And it's crazy, because I just be like, man, I don't know, like you really gotta make every day as much as you can. You have to maximize your time here because it's so short. And I make a conscious effort to like be the best I can be. Like I don't want to like leave this place and not get a will done and not fulfill my purpose in life that God has on me. And so I make a conscious effort to do things and to serve and to like just make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. And I think that so often, to make sure it was recorded, but I just know that so often we go through life and we don't understand, and we have to just trust that God is going to work it out, that God is going to do exactly what he said he's going to do, even if we don't understand. And even when I lost my grandmother on my dad's side, to see how that shook him, his world changed. And when you're grieving, you need somebody that's not going to give up on you. You need somebody that's going to come get you out the bed when you don't feel like getting up and keeping going. You need somebody that can just listen. You need somebody that's not going to judge you, and like be there, because that's what's going to help you turn the corner. You get better with time, but you'll never be able to really feel that void of someone that you lost. That's just the fact. You're going to grieve. And so I decided to like talk about grief because it's the holidays and suicide is ramping up. Suicide is ramping up, and it's a funeral I gotta serve, and like it's like, check on your people, please. Check on your people. Pay attention to their behavior, because so many people are hurting. The holidays are here, grief is kicking in, and people are committing suicide. And this is the time of the year when it ramps up really, really bad, and it breaks my heart because people have so much more life ahead of them. And they just feel like it's no other option, and it is, and it's a permanent decision for a temporary circumstance, and it really breaks my heart. And I want to also talk about grief, but in this aspect, I want to talk about grieving somebody that's alive. I think that is hard to have to grieve a person, have to grieve a situation, and they're alive. And when I decided to walk away from my ex-husband and walk away for good, I didn't realize how sad it made me. I didn't realize that I had to grieve the situation, and it put me in a place of depression. And it was harder for me because it's like I'm grieving somebody that's alive. I'm grieving a situation. I'm grieving all, like, I was just grieving like that whole experience, and it took me a while. It took me like really about 9 months to really just be okay with the thought of, like, having a thought of him and being okay with my decision making and learning how to, like, live life without him, even though he's alive. And it was a process, it was a process. And so you can be grieving. You can grieve for somebody that's not here. You can be grieving for somebody that's here. You can be grieving a situation. And you gotta take your time. You gotta deal with it how you see fit to deal with it, and you gotta just trust and know that God is not gonna put more on you than you can bear. And so I just want you guys to know that no matter how hard it may seem, no matter how painful life can be, life is worth living. And we have to check on our people. We have to don't let it hit your front door to make, in order for you to care about what's going on, Have some empathy, some compassion that it is the holidays and you have your family, and it's somebody that don't have nobody. So we have to be mindful of these things and understand and know. And so, yeah, like, my family really went down through there. And when we got hit hard. Like, it was our heavy hitters, and we overcame. And I thank God that we are at a place right now where we can talk about stories and memories and laugh, and everybody's heart not be so heavy when we're talking about our loved ones. And I'm so grateful. I love my family. Even though, everybody, ain't nobody perfect, but I wouldn't trade them for anything. And I'm grateful for the space that I have to be able to speak. I thank God for this platform, because I use these episodes and this opportunity to help myself, and to, like, heal and, like, get these things out that I hold on to sometimes. And I know that I'm not the only person grieving. I know it's the holidays. I know suicide is ramping up, and we have to be on watch. The devil is busy. The enemy will trick you and play with your mind, and you have to rebuke the devil. You have to rebuke any attacks on you and your children, on your mind. You have to be able to speak life into yourself. And so what I wanted to do, I want to leave you guys with some words of encouragement. And I was looking at Isaiah 40 and 30, chapter 40, verse 31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not be faint. I'm going to read that one more time. Isaiah 40 and 31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And I tell you, if you need something to hold on to, believe me, if you will give it to God, if you will put it in, put it at the altar, put it on the floor with God, and allow God to renew your mind, renew your strength, help you be better every day. And we live life and we live it based on how we feel and what we want to do. But it comes a time and point where we tried it our way and it didn't work. So I would say try Jesus. It's free. He's available. And it's nothing too big or too small for him. And I thank God that I found the love of Christ and I have his word in my belly. You know, that God has kept his hand on me throughout all my changes, everything that I've been through. And yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity. This is episode 6 of Finding Yourself podcast. And we talked about grief. And you know how we do. This is where we believe in facts over feelings. Your blessings are delayed but not denied. And it's your girl Brittany, aka Barbie Social. I'm out.